Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Chasing Masculinity, the podcast where we explore what it means to live as men with purpose, integrity, and a strong foundation in faith. I'm your host, Colton Wutzke, and today we're diving into Rule 2 from my 24 Rules of Masculinity set of rules. To be a Christian male is to not be stereotypically masculine. This episode is all about challenging those societal norms and ideas that have become attached to masculinity and discovering what true Christian manhood really looks like. Now, before I jump into it, I want to remind you, just like I said in the first episode, I'm not coming to you as an authority or an expert on this stuff. I'm on this journey just like you are, and I'm trying to figure it out every day, and I'm failing a lot of the time too. But the point is that these are ideas I found success in following, even when I don't get it perfect. What you're hearing is the accumulation of wisdom I've gathered from the Bible, books, and experiences along the way. So today, we're going to talk about how being a Christian man looks a lot different from the tough guy stereotype that society often pushes on us. And trust me, I've been caught up in trying to fit that mold before. But here's what I've learned. It's not just about being strong in the traditional sense. It's about being strong in your faith, in love, in humility. That's the kind of strength we're called to as Christian men. So to set the tone for today's discussion, I want to start with the verse from Galatians 5:22 through 23. It says, "But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, forbearance, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Against such things there is no law." Now, when you hear that, does it sound like the typical manly man image society throws at us? Probably not. But these are the qualities that we, as Christian men, should be striving to embody. And today, we're going to explore why that's so important, and why the idea of Christian masculinity looks a lot different from the stereotypes we're surrounded by. Let's get into it. All right, let's dive into the first major point for today: societal perception of masculinity. If you were to ask someone what a stereotypical masculine man looks like, what would they say? You'd probably get answers like, he's dominant, strong, never shows emotion, always in control. And where does this come from? Well, a lot of it comes from the media and advertising. Take a look at any beer commercial or movie poster. What do you see? The man is usually portrayed as the tough guy, the one who never lets his guard down, the one who is physically strong, emotionally distant, and in control of everyone and everything around him. Now, some of these traits aren't bad on their own, and it's not wrong to be strong or want to protect others. But the problem is when these traits are taken to the extreme, when men are told that this is the only way to be a man, when masculinity becomes about power, dominance, and never showing weakness. One perfect example of this is an article published by Men's Health back in 2018 called "The 40 Manliest Men in Hollywood History." This article lists all the usual suspects, guys like Clint Eastwood, John Wayne, Sylvester Stallone, and so on. It's a celebration of the tough guy archetype we see over and over in movies. But here's the thing. When we're constantly fed this image, it starts to stick. We think that in order to be masculine, we have to be like those guys, emotionally cut off, physically dominant, always in control, and it's no wonder young men feel the pressure to live up to these impossible standards. Michael Kimmel in his book Guyland talks about this pressure too. He explores the dangerous rituals that young men go through to prove their masculinity. drinking, violence, hyper-competition, and how these behaviors are driven by the idea that being a man means being tough, aggressive, emotionally distant. Kimmel points out that a lot of these expectations don't just harm women or society at large, they actually harm men themselves, because when men are taught that masculinity means being in control and never showing weakness, they're set up for failure. And let's be honest, trying to fit into this mold can be exhausting. How many times have you felt like you couldn't show emotion, couldn't admit you were struggling, or had to put up a front just to fit in with the world's idea of what a man should be? This is where the danger comes in. When society equates masculinity with control and dominance, it encourages men to suppress their emotions, to be overprotective in an unhealthy way, and to see their relationship as a way to assert power rather than build love and partnership. But that's not what being a man is about. Because these stereotypes are harmful, because they push men into a narrow box, they tell us that to be masculine, we have to dominate, to always be strong, and to never be vulnerable. And that's just not true. It's time to push back against these exaggerated notions of manhood and redefine masculinity in a way that reflects strength in character, not just physical power or emotional distance. So here's where I want to hear from you. Have you ever felt like you've encountered these stereotypes in your own life? Maybe it was just a commercial or a movie, or maybe it was at work in your social circles. Do you ever feel like you're being pressured to live up to these unrealistic standards of what being a man should be? Take a moment to reflect on that and think about how these societal pressures might have impacted your view of yourself or your relationships. You don't have to fit into that box. Real masculinity is about so much more. Now, I want to unpack what it truly means to live out Christian masculinity and how it stands in contrast to what society tells us about being men. And just as I've been trying to apply these principles in my own life, failing and learning every day, I want to walk through this with you. We talked about how society portrays men, dominant, emotionless, always in control. We looked at how these stereotypes are reinforced in our culture, particularly through media and advertising. But I want to dive deeper and contrast that image with what it means to embody Christian masculinity. This is such an important conversation because the way society shapes masculinity can be really harmful, both to men and those around them, including the current modern push to suppress masculinity and portray it as a very negative thing. So let's explore together what it means to follow a different path, a path rooted in faith, humility, and love. Let's start with the societal image of masculinity. We all know that stereotype. The strong, tough man, emotionally unavailable. Think about the last action movie you saw. The ads for cologne and cars. They always show a man who's in complete control, physical dominance, never showing that weakness. He's the one who walks into a room and commands attention, never backing down, always stoic and focused on one thing: power. This image is drilled into us from an early age, and it's reinforced constantly by the culture around us. But here's the thing: this portrayal of men doesn't show the full picture of what it means to be masculine. In fact, it sets a standard that's impossible to reach because it encourages men to suppress their emotions, prioritize control, and equate strength with dominance over others. It tells men that if they aren't the biggest or strongest, they're somehow less of a man. This is where we see a real problem with societal perceptions of masculinity. It promotes an idea that strength equals dominance. But when you take that idea to its extreme, what do you get? You get a man who thinks they need to control everything and everyone around them. You get men who can't open up emotionally, can't admit weakness, and can't form genuine relationships because they've been taught that vulnerability is a weakness. The result? A culture of isolation where men feel like they constantly have to prove themselves, often at the expense of their own well-being and the well-being of those around them. Think about some of the cultural messages we've been given, like that Men's Health article, The 40 Manliest Men in Hollywood. The message is clear. Men are supposed to fight the bad guys, protect the vulnerable, and always win. Now, don't get me wrong, there's nothing inherently wrong with these qualities. Fighting for justice, protecting others, and standing strong in the face of adversity are all admirable traits. It's something I am actively trying to live up myself. But when these qualities are tied solely to physical strength or dominance, we lose sight of what true masculinity is. It becomes about being bigger, stronger, and more powerful than everyone else, and that's just not sustainable. Now, contrast that image with what Christian masculinity looks like. Christian masculinity is about strength. Yes, it's a different kind of strength. It's not about physical power or control over others. It's about strength in faith, strength in spirit, strength in love, and strength in character. This is the kind of strength that isn't for dominance, but for service. Christian men are called to use their strength to serve others, to protect not through control, but through love and compassion. True Christian masculinity calls for a man to be strong in his convictions, to lead his family with love, and to live a life of integrity, courage, and humility. Here's a crucial difference. Societal masculinity is about what you can do for yourself, how you can rise above it, how you can assert control. But Christian masculinity is about what you can do for others, how you can serve your family, your community, and ultimately God. The Bible teaches us that this strength is for service, not that self-glorification or that power-seeking hunger. Let's take a look at a key Bible verse that really gets to the heart of this. 1 Corinthians 16:13-14 says, "Be on your guard, stand firm in faith, be courageous, be strong, do everything in love." Now, think about that for a second. Be strong, yes, but then it's followed with do everything in love. Strength and love are tied together here. Christian masculinity doesn't separate strength from compassion. It embraces both. You're called to be strong in your faith, to be courageous, but also to act with love in everything you do. Society often tells us that love and compassion are signs of weakness, but this verse reminds us that true strength comes when it's paired with love. This is what sets Christian masculinity apart. It's not about dominating others, it's about standing firm in faith and acting out of love. I think this is where a lot of men struggle today, myself included. We're constantly being told that we think we need to be in control, that our worth is tied to how powerful we are or how much we've achieved. But Christian masculinity flips that idea on its head. It says when true strength comes from faith, from love, and from being willing to serve others, even when it's hard, it's about being strong enough to admit when we're wrong, to ask for help, and to lead by example in humility. For me, this is something that I'm trying to live out every day, but I'll be honest, it is not easy. I fall into the trap of trying to control things or thinking that being strong means I have to do everything on my own, that stoicism is the way to true masculinity. But this journey is about learning to let go of that need for control and learning how to lead with love. And that's what I want for you too. I want us to all walk on this path together, striving to be the man that God has called us to be, not according to society standards, but according to His. Take a moment to reflect on your own life. What does Christian masculinity look like for you? How does it differ from the image of manhood that society pushes on us every day? Are there areas where you feel that pressure to live up to what the world says you should be as a man? Do you find yourself chasing power or control? And how can you shift your focus to service and love? I am right here with you on this journey, trying, failing, and learning every day. But remember, we're not alone in this. We have each other, and most importantly, we have God to guide us. We've discussed societal perceptions of masculinity and how they often lead men down a path of unrealistic expectations. Now we're going to explore the perfect example of Christian masculinity, Jesus Christ. Jesus stands as the ultimate model of what it means to be a man, compassionate, strong, and unwaveringly committed to his divine purpose. Let's unpack that. Jesus Christ perfectly embodies the balance of strength and compassion that defines true masculinity. Throughout the Gospels, we see various instances of his character that illustrate how strength can coexist with love and gentleness. For instance, let's talk about the story of Jesus cleansing the temple. This account can be found in John 2:13-17. In this moment, we see a different side of Jesus. He's fierce, driving out the money changers and flipping the tables. He wasn't just a passive observer in the injustice happening in his Father's house. He took action. Now, some might look at this story and think, this is the kind of masculinity I need to emulate, forceful and commanding. But here's the key. While Jesus displayed strength, it was rooted in righteous anger and love for what was sacred. He didn't lash out in a fit of rage. He acted out of the deep compassion for God's house and for the people exploited within it. This moment shows us that true masculinity involves standing up for what's right, but also doing it in a way that reflects God's heart. John Eldredge, in his book Wild at Heart, paints a vivid picture of Jesus as both fierce and tender. He describes him as a man who could be fierce in battle, yet tender in his care for those who were suffering. This duality is essential for understanding Christian masculinity. Eldredge challenges the notions that being a man means being emotionally detached. Instead, he urges us to recognize that real strength allows for vulnerability. Jesus wept at Lazarus' tomb, displaying profound empathy for Mary and others in mourning. This moment is a reminder that masculinity isn't about suppressing emotions. It's about being strong enough to embrace them and share them in the struggles of those around us. So why is it important for us to follow Christ's example as the ultimate model of masculinity? Because Jesus illustrates that true strength is not just about physical power or control over others, it's about serving with love, leading with integrity, and demonstrating compassion even in the face of adversity. When we look at Jesus, we see a man who wasn't afraid to confront injustice, but who also reached out to heal the brokenhearted. He was a man of action, yes, but he was also a man of grace. His commitment to his mission to love, serve, and redeem sets a standard for us to follow. As men, we are called to reflect Christ in our own lives, embodying the balance of strength and compassion he exemplified. This means standing firm in our convictions while also being willing to show vulnerability, allowing others to see our true selves. So here's my challenge for you. Consider how you can model your behavior on Christ's example in your daily life. Where can you show both strength and compassion? Perhaps it's in your relationships with your family or friends, where you can be the protector and the nurturer. Or maybe it's in your workplace where you can advocate for justice while also supporting your colleagues. Reflect on the areas in your life where you can embody this duality. Jesus is our ultimate guide, teaching us that true masculinity is about finding strength through love and service, not dominance or control. As we reflect on Rule 2, to be a Christian male is to not be stereotypically masculine, we'll focus on 3 essential areas where we can actively embody this through our actions and interactions. First, take a closer look at the 3 pillars of cultivating Christian masculinity: strength in faith, strength in love, and strength in community. First, let's explore strength in faith. Regular prayer and scripture study form the bedrock of a robust spiritual life, helping us grow closer to God and aligning our hearts with His will. When we commit to daily prayer, We create a sacred place to invite God into our lives, seek His guidance, and express our gratitude. Imagine starting your day with a quiet moment of reflection. This could be as simple as taking 5 minutes to sit in silence, close your eyes, and invite God into your thoughts and plans. You might pray for clarity in your decisions, strength to face the challenges ahead, or compassion to show towards others. Such moments can ground you and set a positive tone for the day. Alongside prayer, immersing ourselves in Scripture is essential. The Bible provides us with wisdom, comfort, and direction. Consider developing a daily or weekly reading habit. Whether it's a few verses or an entire chapter, engage with the text. Ask questions, reflect on its impacts, and seek ways to apply its lessons in your life. Journaling your thoughts can also enhance your understanding, allowing you to capture your reflections and track your spiritual growth over time. Moreover, joining a Bible study group can provide accountability and foster deeper discussions. Sharing insights with fellow believers helps you grow and learn from each other's perspectives, reinforcing the importance of community in your faith journey. Now, let's discuss strength in love. This is where we translate our faith into action within our relationships. True Christian masculinity calls us to show love and empathy, not only to our family and friends, but to those in our wider community. Think about how you can actively express love in your life. It might start with small acts, like checking in on a friend who's going through a rough time, or offering a helping hand to a neighbor. These gestures, no matter how small, reflect the heart of Christian masculinity. You might also consider taking a more proactive approach by volunteering in your local community. This could involve participating in food drives, mentoring at-risk youth, or assisting at a shelter. Not only do these actions demonstrate love, but they also foster a sense of connection and shared purpose. By actively engaging in those in need, you embody Christ's love and compassion. Remember that love isn't just a feeling, it's an action. Engage in open and honest conversations with loved ones. Create an environment where vulnerability is welcomed and cherished. Share your struggles and encourage others to do the same. In doing so, you create a space for authentic relationships built on trust and support. Ultimately, living out of love daily requires intentionality. As you encounter challenges or conflicts, reflect on how you can respond with love rather than anger or frustration. These decisions will help you grow in strength and deepen your understanding of what it means to be a loving Christian man. Finally, let's embrace strength in community. Engaging with your church and serving your community are vital components to Christian masculinity. Being part of a faith-based community not only strengthens your faith, but also provides you with a network of support. Participate in church activities regularly. Attend services, join small groups, and engage in community events. By being an active member of your church, you not only foster your spiritual growth, but you create opportunities for fellowship and connection. This sense of belonging is crucial for your personal and spiritual development. Serving others is a fundamental aspect of embodying this Christian masculinity. Look for ways to contribute, whether it's through organizing community service projects, volunteering at church, or participating in outreach programs. Each act of service reinforces your commitment to living out of love and humility. This doesn't have to be a big, grand occasion. You don't have to be the guy that volunteers 40-plus hours a week on top of your day job. This can literally be as simple as picking up a phone and calling a friend. In your addition to this service, seek out mentorship opportunities. Find a mentor who can guide you on your faith journey, or consider mentoring someone else. These relationships provide invaluable support and accountability, helping you stay committed to your spiritual faith. They also exemplify the virtues of Christian masculinity, demonstrating that true strength lies in serving and uplifting others. Remember, embodying Christian masculinity is a continuous journey. It involves consistent effort and dedication. Surrounding yourselves with like-minded individuals who challenge and inspire you can make this journey fulfilling and impactful. Now, here's my challenge for you. I want you to take one actionable step to embrace Christian masculinity, whether it's serving someone in need, reaching out to a friend to show that vulnerability, or standing firm in your faith and sharing your beliefs. Make it intentional and meaningful. Reflect on how these actions align with your identity as a Christian man and how they contribute to your growth. Now, we're focusing on the critical role that community and fellowship plays in developing Christian masculinity. It's easy to feel isolated in our struggles and aspirations as men, but being part of a church or a Christian community can significantly enhance our growths and help us embody the principles we're exploring. Let's dive into how community and fellowship contribute into shaping that masculinity. First and foremost, being part of a church or Christian community provides a supportive environment where men can grow together. When we gather with others who share our faith, we create a space for open dialogue about our challenges, successes, and the unique pressures we face in society. It's a place where we can be authentic without fear of that judgment. These communities offer a sense of belonging that is vital for men. We are not meant to walk this journey alone. God designed us for relationships. As we connect to other men, we build a support system that encourages us to stand firm in our faith, share our burdens, and celebrate our victories. Whether through formal church services or informal gatherings, these interactions are invaluable for nurturing our character. Fellowship plays a key role in our development of humility, courage, and integrity, qualities that are often overshadowed by societal expectations of our masculinity. In a church community, we can witness firsthand how humility is demonstrated, whether through acts of service, sharing struggles, or simply listening to others. This modeling allows us to understand that true strength lies not in domination, but willingness to serve and uplift those around us. Consider how courage manifests in a faith community. It takes courage to be vulnerable, to share our fears, and admit when we're struggling. When men in our community show this kind of bravery, it inspires us to do the same. These moments of honesty foster deeper connections and create an environment where we can encourage one another to grow. Integrity is another fundamental trait that thrives in community. Surrounding ourselves with like-minded individuals who hold similar values reinforces our commitment to live according to our beliefs. Accountability is key here, having friends who lovingly call us out when we stray from our principles. In such communities, we help each other stay on the right path, reinforcing the standards we aspire to uphold. Now, I really want to encourage you to consider taking action. If you're not already a part of some sort of small group, try joining one. Small groups are a fantastic way to connect with others who are also seeking to deepen their faith and grow in their understanding of masculinity. If you don't see that group that resonates with you, just start your own. Gather a few like-minded friends or acquaintances from your church and create a space for this open discussion. You can explore topics related to faith, masculinity, and personal growth together. Perhaps start with a book study or simply share experiences and insights about how faith impacts your lives. Fellowship isn't about attending services, it's about engaging with each other on a deeper level. It's about building relationships that encourage us to grow, challenge us to be better, and remind us that we are not alone on this journey. So as we wrap up this section, I encourage you to reach out to your local church or faith group. Take the initiative to connect with other men focused on growing in their faith. Whether you join an existing group or start one, these connections are invaluable to your journey toward embodying true Christian masculinity. Let's strive to build each other up and create environments where we can all thrive. As we wrap up today's discussion on Rule 2, to be a Christian male is to not be stereotypically masculine, let's take a moment to reflect on how we can apply these insights in our lives in a very reasonable and applicable manner. Reflection is crucial for personal growth, and I want to pose some questions for you to consider as you navigate your journey of masculinity. First, think about this. What societal traits of masculinity do you feel pressured to embody? We've talked about the dominant stoic figure that society often glorifies. Are there aspects of this stereotype that you find yourself trying to live up to? It's essential to recognize these pressures and consider how they might influence your behavior and choices. By identifying these societal expectations, you can begin to unpack whether they truly do align with your values as a Christian man. It's okay to feel the pressure, but it's even more important to challenge those perceptions and seek a path that resonates with your faith and purpose. I'm not saying that stoicism or being strong is antithetical to masculinity. Not at all. They might align with your principles and virtues as a man, but you need to take time to reflect to make sure that these aren't just pressures that you've decided to enact in your own life without deeper understanding of how they align with your principles. Next, let's explore how you can begin to embrace the fruits of the Spirit in your daily life. Remember the verse from Galatians 5:22 through 23, which highlights attributes like love, joy, peace, kindness, self-control. Consider how you can incorporate these qualities into your interactions and relationships. For example, how can you show kindness at your workplace or at home? What actions can you take to cultivate peace in your relationships? Reflect on the opportunities you have to express love and compassion, even in those small, everyday moments. Each time you embody these virtues, you're actively choosing to live out your faith and redefine masculinity. Lastly, think about what steps you can take to celebrate and promote Christian masculinity in your community. That could be as simple as engaging in conversations about faith and your masculinity with other men, mentoring younger individuals, or leading by example in your actions and decisions. Consider how you might create spaces for dialogue and what it means to be a Christian man, encouraging others to embrace a more holistic understanding of masculinity. How can you uplift those around you and recognize the strength that comes from service, compassion, and integrity? As we conclude, let's summarize the essence of living as a Christian male, not a stereotypically masculine one. By embodying the principles we've discussed, we will find balance and fulfillment for a purpose-driven life. Embracing your faith, fostering genuine connections, and celebrating the virtues of Christian masculinity will guide you on a path towards becoming the man you were meant to be. Thanks for sticking with us on this journey through Rule 2, to be a Christian male is to not be stereotypically masculine. As we wrap up today's episode, let's recap those key takeaways. First and foremost, I encourage you to embrace Christian masculinity over societal stereotypes. It's essential to recognize that true strength comes not from dominance or control, but from serving others and embodying the love and compassion that Christ exemplified in his life. Remember, being a Christian man means striving to reflect on those qualities: courage, integrity, and humility in everything you do. As I mentioned throughout this episode, these principles are not something I have mastered. Like all of you, I'm striving towards these ideals every day. I encounter challenges and I usually fall short, but each day offers me a new opportunity to grow, learn, and embody these values. We're all on this journey together, and your commitment to personal growth is just as important as mine. I invite you to reflect on your own journey with Christian masculinity. How can you actively work to embrace these principles in your daily life? I'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences. Feel free to share your thoughts on social media or connect with me through my platforms. Your stories and reflections can encourage others in their journey too. Before we sign off, I am excited to give you a sneak peek into our next episode. We will be diving into Rule 3, It's God's Plan. We'll explore how understanding God's purpose for our lives can provide clarity and direction as we navigate the challenges of manhood. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss it. As we conclude, I want to leave you with a motivational quote from Micah 6:8. To act justly and to love mercy and to walk humbly with your God. Let this verse inspire you to embody these principles as you pursue a life of authentic Christian masculinity. Thank you for joining me on Chasing Masculinity. Until next time, keep reflecting, keep striving, and keep chasing the man you're meant to be.